Godzilla vs. Megaguirus was a box office bomb for Toho, forcing the studio to go back to the drawing board once again. Desperate for a hit, they turned to the man who had successfully resurrected Gamera in the 90s, Shusuke Kaneko, who had also had his sights set on directing a Godzilla movie for many years. Determined to add his own spin to the time-worn franchise, Kaneko altered the origins of many of the classic monsters and threw them into a story steeped in mysticism and magic. The resulting film is Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, which, despite the obnoxious title, is one of the most thoughtful, action-packed, and visually stunning Godzilla movies ever made. After nearly 50 years of peace, the threat of Godzilla looms on the horizon once again, setting Admiral Taizo, Tachibana, and the JSDF on high alert. At the same time, his daughter Yuri, a reporter specializing in urban legends, finds herself on the trail of the Guardian Monsters, massive beasts who had defended Japan in ancient times. Powered by the souls of all those wronged by Japan in World War II, a vengeful Godzilla emerges to destroy the forgetful nation, while Baragon, Mothra, and King Ghidorah all awaken to fight back, leaving Yuri, her father, and the rest of Japan to watch as these three monsters guard them from their destroyer. After two rather lackluster efforts to rejuvenate the Godzilla franchise with some fresh ideas, GMK was the home run the studio needed, radically altering the status quo while still remaining faithful to the same ideas that originally made Godzilla an enduring monster. Rooted more in fantasy than science fiction, the film dispenses with the expositional scientific jargon that often bogs down the average monster flick, replacing it instead with a potent sense of spirituality that frees it to do new and different things that, while not always of sound logic, keeps the viewer on their toes, making for an unpredictable and explosive viewing experience that will delight fans of the genre. For the first time in decades, Godzilla is pure evil, vengeance possessed, the manifestation of the pain and suffering the Japanese inflicted on others during World War II, a pain that the film points out younger generations are beginning to forget. The film condemns this growing apathy, showing no mercy to those in Godzilla's path, and in fact goes out of its way to show the human cost of the destruction he leaves in his wake. Much like the original, he is the harbinger of Japan's destruction, and thus does not care whether you are innocent or not. This return to Godzilla's roots is reflected in the design, which also harkens back to the original but differs in ways that reflects this film's more spiritual approach. Dead-eyed and burly, this Godzilla is an unstoppable juggernaut, annihilating his enemies in moments of visual flair unseen unto this point. It's one of the most riveting portrayals of the King of the Monsters ever committed to film. The other kaiju benefit from Kaneko's direction as well. Despite being left out of the title, Baragon steals the show, a scrappy little underdog who oozes more personality than any of the other monsters. The suitmation, shot composition, and effects work used to bring him to life are consistently good, and the fight between him and Godzilla is the film's highlight. Mothra benefits from a new design that makes her look more warrior and wasp-like, though she still suffers from a bit of stiffness. Unfortunately, King Ghidorah is the worst off, suffering from a stunted, sometimes plasticky look that is a far cry from the imposing stature of previous incarnations. The fights between the monsters are simple but high impact and brutal, and are so visually arresting it will often leave you breathless. On the human side, GMK is refreshingly simple, divided between two points of view, the reporter Yuri Tachibana and her father Admiral Taizo. This allows the film to remain focused and move at a brisk, tight pace, and both characters are given adequate amounts of development so that the audience actually cares about them. Chiharu Niiyama plays Yuri with a confident but foolhardy tenaciousness, and Ryūdō Uzaki as Taizo balances that with level-headed determination and fatherly warmth. Bolstered by a good cast of supporting characters, together these two give the film its human heart despite not sharing much screen time, making it easy to get invested in the story even when the monsters aren't on screen. Technically, GMK also makes a strong impression, sporting some of the franchise's best special effects work. Through impeccable framing and punchy sound design, the film conveys the size and weight of the kaiju better than most other films in the series, and their powers are brought to life with compelling, if imperfect, visual fidelity. The computer effects work is still severely flawed, but its integration with the suitmation and model work is a vast improvement over the last few films. And finally, it must be said that Keiichi Otani's score is simply magnificent. While stylistically very far removed from past Godzilla scores, it is equally as resonant and memorable as the best Ifukube track, and a worthy addition to the vast library of fantastic music this franchise has inspired. GMK doesn't have many flaws, but its single biggest one is its ending. The way in which Godzilla is defeated, while certainly not conventional, is just plain silly and undermines not only all of the dread and foreboding built up around him, but the sense of realism surrounding the film itself. It lacks consequence and frankly makes no logical sense. Ending aside though, GMK is without a doubt an excellent entry in the Godzilla franchise. The story is refreshingly different, the characters are simple and relatable, the action is pure eye candy, and it sports an instantly iconic incarnation of Godzilla that remains faithful to what he originally represented back when he was conceived in 1954. It is a great introductory Godzilla movie that both hardcore fans and casuals alike can enjoy, and a strong contender for one of the best Godzilla movies ever made. For more reviews and opinions on all things Godzilla, subscribe and stay tuned to Up From the Depths.